Welcome back to the Night Sports Arena. Jim Bresnahan along with Mike Harmon. We're ready for game number 2. Salisbury and Southern Virginia in men's college basketball action after the women's ball game ended up 83-61 Salisbury in the first game today.
Yeah, and we should see a wide open game tonight between the men's teams. I know Salisbury likes to shoot a lot of threes, at least 21 a game. Southern Virginia is not adverse to shooting threes either.
And the Knights are 0-7, actually 1-7 on the season. They had that, of course, opening of victory against Emory and Henry. They have struggled since then to get to victories.
Yeah, and again,
had some real heartbreakers too.
Real heartbreakers, especially the last one against Wesley overtime, and also we're looking at them trying to get into a good rhythm right now.
And as we mentioned before the first game today, the roster looks drastically different.
Yeah.
And one of the noticeable missing names for the men will be Preston Eaton.
Yeah, 2 starters missing. Preston has missed an appeal with the NCAA on the 10-semester rule. He has 10 semesters to get his 8 semesters of eligibility in, and missed that, and missed the appeal there. And then Kaleo Manuel is academically ineligible. So we're going to have to look and see which players are going to step up now for the Knights.
How do you replace those 2 guys, Eaton especially for the outside shooting, and Manuela was a pretty good inside force?
Well, you're not going to replace them man on man. You have to replace them with your whole team and find out, who was waiting in the wings. And we have Michael Nuthville that we saw make a big shot against Wesley to put him into overtime. Maybe he's the one that's going to step up and play a little bit extra in the post.
David Beatty.
David Beatty.
Yeah.
Walker running the point. Maybe he's going to be a little bit more offensive-minded from the outside now. So it's going to be a team effort now. And sometimes you have some addition by subtractions, although the subtractions are very unfortunate for the Knights. Sometimes the addition is the team becomes a little bit more solid.
Okay, and we got our prayer coming up and then the national anthem as we get ready for the second game today between Salisbury and Southern Virginia, so stay with us.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the barn here at Southern Virginia University.
Starting lineups today for the Salisbury men's team will be Connor Strickland at one guard slot. He is a 6'2" senior. He'll be joined by a junior forward, Kyra Savacool. Also at a guard slot, a junior, Rocky Harris. And another guard slot for Salisbury today will be a sophomore, Justin Whitmer, and then Gordon Jeter. He is a 6'6" sophomore. And the starters today for the Southern Virginia University Knights at one slot, Wesley Evans, the senior, the 6'5" forward. He'll be joined by the junior David Beatty. He is 6'7". And then Kevin Walker, shooting guard, will be starting today. He is a 6' junior. Justin Langford will be starting today. He is a sophomore, 6'5" power forward. And at center, Michael Newfield. He is the 6'6" freshman. And as we mentioned, Mike, just a situation where the Knights are going to have to replace the scoring of Preston Eaton and Khalil Manuela.
Well, we're going to look for Wesley Evans to step up a little bit. You know, Wesley's an ultimate team player, and he made a lot of different players look a whole lot better during the first part of the semester. Now it's going to be time for him to not only be the distributor that he always has been, but to score extra points for the Knights.
And not only do you lose the scoring and try to replace that, as you mentioned, as a team, but you also lose the team depth.
Yeah, and that's something that, you know, was probably the benchmark for the Knights for this season was that they could put in a lot of different people, and now that depth has become a little bit shorter. But there are some people out there that can really play the game, and again, this gives them the chance to show what they can do.
Any one or two folks stand out. I mean, I remember some of the guys who played a lot in late November, maybe like a Taylor Larson perhaps, or maybe an Austin Wood, or just a few folks like that. Also, we're looking at probably Kyle Dragonich and Emmett Mosley. You know, Emmett, he's a senior, but he's had chances to get into the game, and sometimes when he stays in control and controls the pace and himself, he's really good. But he has the opportunity sometimes to get a little bit out of control. So we're going to look at some of these kids coming in to have expanded roles, and they should relish in them. Then perhaps another one, a junior, maybe Ben Canavari, if he can stay out of foul trouble.
Yeah, and we're hoping that, you know, Ben's got out of the football mode. So it would be nice to see him get back to where he was last year.
We are ready to go with Jeter and Newfield tipping the ball, and the opening tip goes to Salisbury. Salisbury comes in 5-5 on the season, 1-2 in the Capital Conference. Knights are 0-3 in the conference, and again 1-7 on the season. They won their season opening game in overtime against Emory and Henry, and still looking for their first win since then. Although, Mike, as you mentioned, they had a real tough loss back on December the 6th. Against Wesley in a very controversial ending.
Yeah, and also a tough loss against Christopher Newport when they're out there playing.
And you mentioned that was a game they had the lead and then lost it late. Yeah, Savacool nails a three to get Salisbury off and going 3-0.
And that's what the Salisbury is going to do is run a lot of 4-man and 5-man motion, work the shot clock down, and then look for those very deep threes.
Let's see what the Knights can do offensively with their first possession. Tough man-to-man defense by Salisbury. Beatty never shy about putting it up, and he hits.
And as long as David's attacking the basket, it's a whole lot better for the Knights than when he stands out and tries to hoist up, 30-footers.
And we got a foul right off the bat on Beatty.
And that's something that the Knights can't afford, as you said, because the depth isn't as deep as it has been. Picking up these hand check fouls is not going to be good for the Knights.
Preston Eaton, of course, had that monster game against Emory and Henry. They suffered a little
injury
to his finger.
Yep.
Wasn't shooting the ball quite as he did last year and the very beginning of this year. But, boy, it's hard to replace his leadership and certainly his outside scoring.
Yeah, and, again, that's something that the Knights just have to put behind them now. It's not anything that they can moan about or say, poor us. No one's going to take it easy on them, so they're going to have to just keep on moving.
Yeah, the Knights have a turnover. Salisbury hits the three, and the Knights turn the ball over as Langford couldn't handle the pass. Now 6-2, Salisbury on top, and the Seagulls have a 4-point lead and the ball. Connor Strickland off to Jeter.
Seagulls do a
Whitmer.
really good job of keeping the floor spread out beyond the three-point line.
And it's going to be Whitmer with the three. No good. Soaring for the rebound is Walker. Walker, nice pass to Langford, but he can't hit. Rebound, Walker, stick back, no good. Ball knocked out of bounds, and it's still Knights basketball. Boy, that was a nice pass by Walker.
Great pass. And again, he was under control the whole way. Didn't look like he was going to really take it to the basket. And then all of a sudden, a little bit of hesitation dribble puts him right there, draws the defense to him, and lays it off for a layup attempt.
Yeah, Langford couldn't hit. You'd love to see Langford start getting going offensively, as Beatty with an offensive foul must have thrown the elbow, and he quickly has picked up his second foul.
Kyle comes in for him right away.
So Carl Dragnich into the game. I'm guessing that maybe Beatty threw an elbow as he moved to the basket.
Looked like he cleared out with his offhand as he was driving toward the basket.
6-2 lead right now for Salisbury. They won the women's contest 83-61. Trying to sweep the Knights here at the Knights Sports Arena, this doubleheader here in early January. Whitmer back to Jeter. Jeter to Harris. Baseline. Pass hit the basket. Picked up by Evans. Doesn't have the numbers and drops it off to Walker. And Walker out of control is called for a charge, and quickly the Knights have 3 team fouls now.
And this is why, as a coach, you tell them, once you get into the paint, come to a jump stop. Don't continue on unless you're going up for a shot. You can pick up those cheap fouls really fast and easy, especially against a very good defensive team.
Justin May, Wyatt Smith into the game for Salisbury. Knights have just 2 points here in the opening 3 minutes.
Again, you can see that their timing on their offensive cuts is really out of sync.
Jeter inside, the pass comes to Jeter. Over to May. And May will fire the three and miss. Newfield an easy rebound. Knights down by 4 with the ball. Dragnich downloaded Newfield. Pass stolen away by Strickland. He goes coast to coast, and Dragnich with the block.
Waiting not to give up on the play.
Evans stops and pops and can't hit. Rebound. Langford up and in.
And that's what we need to see more from the Knights, is that little pull-up jump shot and crash the offensive boards.
And Wes Evans really has a nice-looking jump shot, even though he missed that shot.
He needs to display it a whole lot more this next part of the season. Yeah.
6-4. Knights trail by 2. Strickland with a long jump shot, no good. Boy, Salisbury really came out looking to shoot the three, apparently.
They put up a lot of attempts, Jim, over 21 a game.
Newfield with the left hand can't hit. Finally, the rebound is pulled away by Wyatt Smith. Big body, 6'5". 6-4 is your score. Knights trail by 2 here. Played nearly 5 minutes. And nice defense by Langford to knock the ball loose. Turnover for the Seagulls.
Looks like every time the ball goes into the post, the Knights are going to do what's called monstering and bringing the opposite post player in to double team the ball.
And Langford hits to tie the game. So Langford's got 4 points. Strickland, nice pass to Jeter, reverse layup, good. 8-6, Salisbury on top.
And you see what shooting those three-point shots have done for the Seagulls now. You got the Knights on a string, as every time they give a little pump fake, the Knights are expanding their defense and they finding people underneath the basket all alone.
Pass down low to Dragon, she can't hit. And only one look at it for the Knights as the rebound comes away to Salisbury.
Well, the good news is they're getting shots right there at the rim. A little bit of rust on the short arm of the shooting the ball, but that'll wear itself off in the next 3 or 4 minutes.
And a turnover for Salisbury. Knights have the ball. Again, trailing by 2 here with 14:25 to go till halftime. Langford, right side, Dragnich. Spin move, shot blocked. And they're going to call a foul. Call a foul on Wyatt Smith. And that will send Kyle to the foul line to shoot 2.
Again, for some of the issues that we've seen the Knights have in these first 6 minutes, being down by only 2 is a great sign for them.
And Dragic misses the first foul shot. And now a few substitutions as Larson checks in. Mosley also checks in for the Knights.
Canterbury came in also.
Yeah. Second shot is good. You would imagine, Mike, with, again, Manuela and Eaton unavailable in the second half of the season, that the Knights might really focus on 8 or 9 players?
I think so. Their rotation is going to be shortened up no more than 9, I would believe.
And the Knights trail by 1 here, 8-7. Tried to get their first win since the season opening game against Emory and Henry, and Dragnich with a nice steal. Well, backs his way in, nothing there.
And that was nice to see Kyle not trying to force any action.
Larson's got it. Now Canterbury. Ben with a move to the basket. Out of control. Picked up the contact, or was it a charge? Looks like it's going to be
2 shots for Ben.
Against Salisbury, so it'll be Canterbury going to the foul line.
Again, not the usual list that we saw Ben last year, being able to get off the floor with those extra added pounds of muscle he put on for football, but, enough to get to the free throw line.
Yep, and he got the first one to go. Ties the game at 8. This really would be a nice win for the men's team today to kind of stop that losing streak.
Yes, and again, set them up for the rest of the semester. Again, it's a team effort right now. Everybody has to contribute.
And Canterbury puts Southern Virginia on top for the first time today, 9-8. Now we'll see if the Knights can play some defense here to get the ball back with a 1-point lead. Good defense so far in this possession for Salisbury. And it'll be a 3-point shot up and in by Salisbury, by Strong. He gives Salisbury the lead back now 11-9. Foul called away from the ball on SVU. That's their 14th foul of the Knights. And Larson's going to pick that one up.
And like you said, with missing 2 starters, that depth is shaved off a little bit. They don't need to be helping other teams out by making and committing these fouls.
So it's 11-9. Salisbury on top now by 2. Strawn, who just hit a 3-pointer, gives over to Harris. And there's a charge going to be called on Jordan Brooks, as Brooks hit Larson, and Larson went to the floor. 3rd team foul on the Seagulls.
A lot of good defense that's going on right now. People look at it and say, well, they've only scored 9 or 11 points in 8 minutes, but the defense is something that you can always play when the offense has left you.
And the Knights, again, really trying to deal with the layoff, Mike, but also trying to readjust the team after the loss of Manuela and Eaton. Nice defense. Canterbury drops it off for Dragnich with the shot clock at 10. Now Mosley down the lane, shot, scoop shot, good. What a shot by Emmett.
And when Emmett plays under control, those are the things that we can see from him on a continual basis.
Harris, left-hander, 3, up, no good. Long rebound is tipped outside to Strawn. Back to Harris for another 3-point bomb, and he hits that one.
And that was Kyle's fault. Tried to leak out too early instead of boxing out and go and get the rebound.
14-11. It's going to be a Hosier for a 3-point bomb, and he misses. And fast break, Salisbury. And they can't handle the pass off of Wyatt Smith. He touched it last, and it's going to be SVU basketball.
And great effort by Cody, sprinting back after missing that shot down in the corner. Was able to sprint back, get his hands on the ball to knock it off the Salisbury offensive player.
We have played about 8.5 minutes. The Knights have 11 points, just 14 for Salisbury. But the Seagulls have the 3-point lead.
Well, as I see it now, two things are hurting the Knights the most is David Beatty out with 2 fouls, and Wes Evans sitting over trying to catch his breath.
Those are 2 big offensive components right there as the Knights miss. And the other way, the shot by Whitmer is up and good to make it 16-11. And Kevin Walker, who's been out, he's going to be checking back in. He's another possible offensive source for the Knights. Has had some great games in November and December.
Great spark plug for the Knights as he comes in and makes things happen.
I'm trying to remember that great game was at the Wesley game that they almost won that Walker forced overtime. And Whitmer stuffs in the shot to make it 18-11, and just like that, Salisbury has ripped off a 7-point lead, and the Knights are going to take a timeout with 10:31 to go to halftime.
You know, and it's great when you're trying to play a lot of different players and put them in situations where they can succeed. But sometimes when you start losing people like the Knights have, you really got to shorten that rotation up even more. It might be to where Coach Caputo gets down to really only playing 7 or 8 people.
And obviously, as you mentioned a few minutes ago, he's really been behind the 8 ball with David Beatty picking up those 2 early fouls.
Yeah, that just threw a lot of rotations out of balance, I'm sure, for the Knights. And that's something that David's going to have to really work on as far as on his own personal awareness of when he's going to commit to these fouls and what detriment he is to the team when he's sitting on the bench.
Knights are trailing here 18-11. Walker's checking back into the game, so Kevin Walker's out there along with Larson, Hosier. Also, Roomba is going to be seeing his first appearance today. Aaron Roomba, 6'5" freshman. Also, Nuffville's back out there. Ball was kicked out of bounds, so it's still SVU basketball. The Knights down here by 7.
The big difference in the game is the amount of 3-point shots that have been hit. You know, Salisbury is 4 for 8, and Southern Virginia is 0 for 1.
And Hosier, of course, had the only miss so far, the only 3-point attempt by the Knights. He's got the ball right now with just 8 on the shot clock. They're going to have to hurry here. Maybe a clear out for Walker with the shot clock down to 4. Walker's just going to have to fire one up, and it hit the rim, but he missed the shot.
A little bit of confusion out there. You know, last year and a half, that play would have been going for Preston Eaton.
Salisbury works it over to Savricool, and his 3-pointer's no good. But another offensive rebound, and Harris fires and hits. Rocky Harris hits another 3-pointer. 5 3-pointers here for Salisbury in this first half. And they lead by 10, 21-11.
And although they're living by those threes right now, you know, as soon as they get cold, that could go another way.
And Walker went into a crowd, dribbled into 2 or 3 defenders on either side of him, and was luckily he was able to avoid a turnover. He almost lost that ball.
You know, and 10-point lead right now. You don't want this to get any further away. If I was Coach Caputo, I'd be really trying to get Wes Evans back into the game as soon as possible.
Maybe even Beatty with 2 fouls as Hosier fires and hits a big 3. Boy, they really needed that shot.
Great follow through by Cody. Even though the bigger man was coming out to contest his shot, stuck right with his shot.
Cuts the lead down to 7 with 8:57 to go to halftime. Savricool, his pass knocked out of bounds. Still Salisbury basketball with 18 on the shot clock.
It looks like with all the switching that the Knights do on defense, the Seagulls are trying to isolate Cody Hosier with somebody and put him down in the post.
Savercool's got it baseline. Roomba is on him. Nice pass inside. Shot is missed, but a foul called. Roomba played the first few games of the season. Hadn't seen a whole lot of action since, but he's going to maybe apparently get his shot at getting some playing time.
Yeah, they're behind the, like you said, the 8 ball with David Beatty on the bench, and don't know why or what is wrong with Wes Evans. But someone's going to have to take up those minutes.
Ryan Miller missed the first foul shot. Langford will check back in for Larson. 21-14, Salisbury by 7. Second shot is good. 8-point lead now for Salisbury. Yeah, interesting, Mike, that Wes Evans has sat for so long.
He may be, we'll have to do some investigating at
to whether
halftime
some
to see if
injury?
he's sick or if an injury happened or what's going on. I know one of the young ladies on the basketball team tore a calf muscle the other day in practice, so it may be a lingering injury from practice going on this week.
Yeah, the Knights really need a basket here. Hosier just hit a 3 a few seconds ago to get him down to 7. Right now it's an 8-point lead for Salisbury. Langford has a couple of baskets here in the first half. To Roomball, who goes baseline, gets in a crowd, and is fouled.
I think they're just going to call it out of bounds, a kickball.
Okay, so that'll be no foul. 3-team fouls so far for Salisbury, 5-team fouls for the Knights. Of course, Beatty's got 2 of those, and he's been sitting since he picked up foul number 2. As Hosier got up in the air, had to drop the ball, picks it back up, puts it up, and he can't get the roll. And Savercool grabs the rebound. Fast break. There's Harris all alone for an easy layup. 10-point lead for Salisbury.
And the defensive balance is just not there for the Knights when Cody Hosier gets in or Walker gets into the paint. Everybody stays. No one's rotating back to eliminate those fast break layups.
And Harris, I think he's got at least 8 points now in this first half. Walker drops it off for Hosier. Hosier works by his man and hits a big basket there to cut the lead down to 8 at 24-16. Looks like Wes Evans getting ready to check back in for the Knights. Harris has it out front. Now Harris will fire another three-pointer and hits again.
And they're on fire from the three-point line. You might want to.
Yeah, Rocky Harris, I think he might have like about 11 or 12 points so far now.
I may break my man-to-man rules and put someone right on him and face guard him.
Hosier outside. Thought about taking the 3, didn't launch it. Lead is 11 right now, 27-16 for Salisbury. Walker drops it down low for Neufeld, but the pass is picked off by Savercool. He floats a pass to Jeter all the way, lays it up, no good. And the Knights have the ball. That's really dodged a bullet there, as Salisbury with that layup attempt could have taken a 13-point lead. And a steal by Harris, knocks it off of Walker out of bounds. Looked like Walker maybe just kind of lost his concentration a little bit.
Yeah, again, some of them look like they're trying to do too much. Maybe the effects of being off for a month is starting to catch up to them a little bit more than they thought it would be.
And a timeout is taken by the Knights. It's 27-16 with 6:24 to go. Rocky Harris really has been one of the top people right now for Salisbury with his outside shooting.
Oh, and he's hitting them from very deep. So, again, you can't go underneath the screens, especially the way he's shooting right now. Either have someone chase him or actually break your defensive rules and put someone on to face guard him. Don't let him touch the ball. Get him away from the offensive flow of the game.
He's hit at least 3 three-pointers, and I believe Salisbury has at least 5, maybe 6 threes now for the game.
Yeah, I think they have 6 threes for the game. And again, shooting it at almost a 50% mark from the threes. And, you have to try new things. When someone's this hot or a team is this hot, switch it up a little bit. See if the next look will slow them down a little bit. Like in the women's game when they started out with that zone, and it totally took Salisbury by surprise. if the Knights have a zone, they might want to look in trying to run it 1 or 2 possessions to get Salisbury out of rhythm.
And the Knights trail here by 11. You're fortunate Cody Hosier's hit a couple of big baskets here. Otherwise, it could be much worse.
Yeah, again, the offensive flow for the Knights just is not there. A lot of hesitation. Should I make the pass? Should I drive? Who am I looking for? It's one of those things where they have to learn how to play again without 2 of their main players.
Knights have Wes Evans back out there. He'll be joined by Mosley, also Langford, Hosier, and Canaveri. As the Knights trail by 11 points here as we close in on halftime, down to 6:15 to go until halftime.
And they did change into a zone, trying to give Salisbury a different look.
That and Harris is no longer out there right now. Whitmer shifts into the left side. Now May with a pass over to Jeter. Smith walked with the basketball. Travel called on Wyatt Smith.
And although, it looked like they had a couple openings for shots, the Knights achieved their main goal on defense by not letting them get a shot and securing the possession.
Now we'll see if the Knights can get some offense as Dragnich is checked back in the game and Hosier checks out. Mosley works to the right corner. Now Evans. I believe Wes has only taken 1 shot in this basketball game, missed it. Evans backs his way in and travels with the basketball, they say. Not sure I saw the travel.
I didn't see it either. Kind of a phantom travel or maybe a makeup call
Wes
from the last one.
Turned around and said, what was the call? Turnover of the Knights gives it back to Salisbury. And the Seagulls already have an 11-point lead, looking to build upon it. Smith at the foul line, off to Whitmer, hits another 3-pointer, 30-16. 7 threes now for Salisbury here in the first half.
And that's a lot of threes in a half.
And a steal by Salisbury. Oh, what a play by Whitmer. And Strong can't hit, but there is Smith with a follow shot good. It's 32-16.
And the Knights are just way out of sync right now.
You got to really figure in both cases the men's game here in game 2 and maybe even the women's contest to a certain degree in game 1 that 1 month layoff really has had an impact.
It has.
Canaveri's going to fire a 3 and miss.
Again, only 1 person in to rebound offensively for the Knights. 1 against 4 is not good numbers.
May can't hit the 3. Rebound for Evans. Knights really need a basket, down by 16 points here. Another steal by May, but Evans gets it right back as May ran into the referee. Dragnich will fire a jump shot. It is no good. Evans with the offensive rebound, but his stick back is too hard, and a rebound for Salisbury.
A little bit of raggedness going on right now for both teams.
But you can see definitely, Mike, that it just seems like Salisbury's got a ton more energy right now.
Well,
Not to mention, obviously, they know exactly where they're going to get their offense.
And again, they've had 2 games since the break to get into sync with each other.
Wyatt Smith to Jeter, and Jeter scores inside, and the lead is now 18. And the Knights aren't finding any fast break opportunities as well. Another steal. Mosley, bad pass. May with the steal all the way, lays it up and in. 20-point lead for Salisbury.
And that's just the Knights playing a play instead of playing basketball. And the other teams that we're going to go against will scout you so well that once you make a call, they know exactly what's coming unless you do something to counter it. And if you just blindly throw a pass, especially more than 15 feet, we're going to see layup city on the other end.
Kind of comparable, I guess, to the women's contest. It was a very close game for the opening 10 minutes of this first half, but not so the last 5-6 minutes as the Salisbury Seagulls have blown this one open to a 20-point lead now.
Yeah, and
you got the entire second half to go, so if you're Tony Caputo, what do you tell your team down by 20? just trying to maybe make a little run, get it down to about 12 or 14
if you
points
can
by
get it
halftime.
if you can get it to 12, you're doing phenomenal. I would hope that the Knights could work the way back to 15,
Yep.
maintain that 15. If they can get it to 12 or even 10, they've done a great job. But it all starts on the defensive end for them. They're giving up way too many open shots, especially three-point shots.
And the last few times down, they've had some bad turnovers.
Yeah, those turnovers are leading to wide open layup attempts. There's no defense for that. You can't defend that because they're out in front of you. The only way you can defend that is by not making those passes.
Women in the first game today, the Salisbury women were able to beat Southern Virginia 83-61. That was a game they led by 23 at halftime.
And we saw two of the best players in the Capital Conference and almost probably two of the best players in the nation when they come out with the All-American teams, the 20 young ladies that they'll put on that Division III All-American team. I'm expecting to see one, if not both of those on there.
Hackett or Sipe?
Right now, Hackett is playing a whole lot better.
Yeah.
Sipe, though, is leading her team, is second in scoring and leading the team in rebounds and assists. So, you got to take a lot of that into account.
Here the Knights trail by 20. Shot is up and no good by Langford.
And the Knights need to pull out some type of play to get them an easy shot.
I believe Langford has 4 points in his first half, and Hosier has 5, and the offense just really hasn't been there outside of those two. Evans hasn't scored yet. Beatty had 2 fouls in the first few minutes, hasn't returned to the lineup yet. Jump shot is good there.
Nice shot by Wesley, and David started the scoring for the Knights.
Yeah. Are you surprised that despite 2 fouls that Beatty hasn't come back in?
A lot of coaches want to be really safe and save them for the second half, but once you start getting down to 12, 14 points behind, sometimes you have to be a little bit aggressive and trust your player and tell them you cannot foul.
Shot clock's at 5. It's going to be Harris. Rocky Harris, foul line jumper. No good. And Canterbury gets a nice rebound.
And great job by the Knights forcing Harris to put the ball on the floor to try to score instead of just squaring up for a 3.
Here's Langford. Backs his way in. Shoots off the glass, and he's fouled by Miller. So Langford will go to the foul line with 1:44 to go till halftime.
Again, these 2 free throws go in. They get it back to 16 points. A good stop on the other end, another score. You're down below 15, and you can go into halftime below 15 feeling, okay, we haven't played our best yet. Here we go.
Especially if you could somehow in the second half get Evans and Beatty really involved in the offense. Maybe even Kevin Walker.
Yeah, it'd be nice to see Walker distribute the ball to them, set them up for easier shots. Plus, when Walker does get into the game fully, mentally and physically, he can collapse the defense with his drives, pass it out. Beatty and Evans can shot fake and drive, get some old-fashioned three-point shots.
Well, the Knights have cut the lead down to 16 with 1:37 to go till halftime. See if they can play some defense here. Harris has it outside. Now Whitmer. Wyatt Smith, foul line. Open is Whitmer for a 3. Hits another big 3. 8 3-pointers now for Salisbury here in the first half.
And that's too long of a defensive closeout for the Knights to try to get to.
Walker hit the deck. Fouled apparently by Harris. Non-shooting foul. Knights will take it out of bounds with 1:09 to go till halftime.
And the Knights need to manufacture a relatively easy shot and play some great defense now.
See what they can come up with offensively here with the first half clock now down to 60 seconds to go. Evans looks for a pick, gets it, drops it off for Canterbury. He goes to the basket, left it short, rebound, Salisbury. Knights were hoping to get maybe within 14 or 15, but it's gone the opposite direction, Mike.
Yeah, with those three-point shots that Salisbury's shooting.
And that one almost rolled in.
Right now, the Knights need to go in
You
no,
hesitate.
no lower than where they are now. I mean, try to
Yeah.
get that 17 point down, but
Or perhaps even a three-pointer to cut it to 16.
anything but turning the ball over to lead to points for Salisbury.
And getting a good shot, a good look at it in the final 9 seconds here. So will they get a shot off? Walker to Canaveri with the three. Up and no good.
And I can't believe that that's the shot that the Knights wanted. Again, a lot of hesitation on where to go and what to run in certain situations. And, again, you know, that's just from coming of not playing with this rotation.
Yeah, maybe
for a while.
it's the rotation you were talking about, because the Kevin Walker today doesn't strike me as the Kevin Walker we saw in late November, early December.
No, he's looking to score a lot and take a lot of the load of Kaleo and Preston being
Right.
gone. He just needs to play his game and allow himself to distribute and create for other people.
So we're at halftime. It's 39-20 at halftime. Salisbury on top here by 19. What does Tony Caputo tell his team in the locker room here at halftime?
They're talking about turnovers right
Yeah.
now. They have to be talking about turnovers and defensive closeouts too, anticipating where the ball is going to go and closing out a little bit better. Offensively, they've got to make better decisions or quicker decisions. Seeing a lot of hesitation on should I make this pass, should I not?
Defensively, do you also expand your defense to guard against that three-point shot? Unless you're just going to bank that Salisbury's going to cool off in the second half.
You know, they tried going to a zone, and Salisbury started to figure that out. Again, Harris is the one that has really hurt them. And you might want to break a little bit of defensive rules and not help off of him and just face guard him. Everybody else play your own defensive rules. Something has to give, or Salisbury will run off with this game in the second half.
Big first half for Salisbury. Halftime score, it is Salisbury 39 and Southern Virginia 20. We're going to take a little break, come back for second half action in just a few minutes, so stick with us. 39-20 is your halftime score. Salisbury on top of Southern Virginia. Mike, we've got the first half numbers. What numbers really leap out at you here? Obviously, 8 of 14 for Salisbury shooting three-pointers.
Yeah, that's the big one, and also the 9 assists that they've gotten. That shows that they're not only just trying to create their own shots, but they're actually sharing the ball to create shots for their team. The turnovers, 12 turnovers for the Knights. That doesn't sound like a lot, but just about all their turnovers were live ball turnovers, which led to easy points for the Seagulls.
And the Knights were led in scoring by Justin Langford, had 6 in the first half. Wes Evans, 13 minutes, only had 2 points. David Beatty only played 2 minutes in that first half.
Yeah, and that's another number we were talking about earlier that jumped out at you, is him playing 2 minutes. Now we're going to see, hopefully he stays on the court for the next 20 minutes. He should be very well rested.
And Kevin Walker, a guy we've seen explosive at times this season, and he really struggled in the first half.
Yeah, and we talked about that earlier. He might be trying to do too much, take on too many roles instead of just playing the way that he can play and that we've seen him play, be very successful at driving and kicking.
Well, the Knights trail by 19 here at halftime. How about some of the thoughts about what we might see differently from the Knights in the second half? And kind of like, the Knights in the first game, the women's ball game, they trailed at halftime by 23. And you talked about 4-minute stages.
4-minute stages. And Coach Caputo has a lot of timeouts left. I know a lot of people like to save their timeouts for the end of the game. But right now you got to play that 4 minutes, call a timeout, reevaluate where you're at. And then move for the next 4-minute segments. Obviously, closing out on the three-point shooters is going to be key the rest of this half. We can't let them have those wide-open three-point shots.
And down by 19, again, you look at those 4-minute stages, those 4-minute intervals you talked about. If you can, knock off 4 or 5 points per 4 minutes.
All you got to do is win each one by 5 points, and you win the game.
Of course, now the downside of that is if that approach, when you're down by 19, is there's no room for error, no margin for error.
No room for error, but it didn't. The one way didn't work in the first half. You might as well try something in the second half. Not saying that's what Coach Caputo is going to do, and I was one of the worst at trying to save my timeouts for the very end. Although when we got into situations like this, we did call the timeouts at the 4-minute marks to reevaluate where we were and what we should be doing in order to win the next 4 minutes.
And it's going to be interesting to see what kind of second half performances we get from Walker, Evans, and Beatty.
Yeah, those three need to be not only physically in the game but mentally in the game, and that's something we haven't really seen in the first half.
And Beatty will start the second half. Beatty, Newfield, also Evans, Langford, and Walker. Those are your 5 on the floor to start the second half for the Knights. And right off the bat, Walker gets the foul call.
And again, you can't hinder a dribbler. If they want to get to a space and you don't have that space already occupied, as soon as you hit them, that's going to knock them off, and it's going to be a foul.
And Walker just picked up his second. So the first foul right off the bat goes against the Knights. See what kind of approach Salisbury's got offensively here to start the second half. After sizzling from three-point range in the first half. Very deliberate, Mike.
Yes, they are. And again, this is how they started out the game with this 4-man motion, a lot of cutting, a lot of passing, driving kicks.
And the Knights get the ball. See what they can do with it now after Salisbury came up empty on their first possession. Beatty all the way, lays it up, and luckily that is a block call on Salisbury. What you would have thought, boy, charged, foul number 3 right off the bat. No.
And you'd really want to see these players. They have a mentality now of I'm going all the way to the basket or I'm going to pull up for a 3. And there's nothing wrong with pulling up for a little 6-foot jump shot out in front of the restricted arc.
Beatty has the free throw. He's got 3. Pulls his team within 18 here. And now the lead is 17 for Salisbury. The Knights get this thing down to maybe 12 or 13 points, and then the momentum starts to shift a little bit.
And the more they can control the tempo of the game to their liking, the more that momentum will shift over to them also.
Harris through traffic to Savercool. Back to Harris, open for a 3, hits another one.
And they're going to have to identify him as a shooter now. Not that he wasn't a shooter before, but they cannot let him have 6 or 7 feet to get that shot off.
He is 5 of 6 from three-point range. As a team, Salisbury now 9 of 15 as Neufville scores inside a big basket.
No, but you
That's
can't.
60% for three-point range for Salisbury for the game. Walker almost had the steal.
Can't trade 3s for 2s, though,
No
for
way.
the rest of the game.
You wonder if Harris is going to cool off at all. 5 out of 6 from three-point range.
I wouldn't want to bet on it right now.
Jeter against Neufville and missed the shot. And then they're going to call a foul on Neufville. That was a late whistle there.
It was, but if Michael would have stayed straight up, he brought his hands down just a little bit to break the plane, and that's what they call. They don't really have to see you hit somebody, but if they see you break the plane, they're going to assume that the foul happened.
Jeter at the foul line hits the first one. So he played almost 2 minutes, and it was a big lead of 17 or 19 at halftime, and right now the lead is 19. And now it's 20.
And it's looking good for the Knights to win this first 4-minute segment.
See what the Knights can do offensively here. Walker gives up the dribble, drops it in for Neufville, who's fouled from behind by Jeter.
And both teams are starting to accumulate fouls at a much quicker pace than they did in the first half.
Each with 2 team fouls here. Inbounds pass to Neufville. Beatty almost lost that ball. David goes baseline, shoots, and he couldn't get the shot to go. Langford had a rebound, couldn't hold on to it. Beatty grabs it along the baseline. He has a shot that goes a little too far. Neufville with the rebound, and he can't hit. Boy, 3 or 4 good looks at it inside, and the Knights cannot hit the basket.
You know, you got to applaud the effort.
And a steal by Walker. Oh, great anticipation by Kevin, and he missed the layup. It looked like he was indecisive between perhaps jamming that ball or obviously doing what he did instead of laying it off the glass. And now Harris for a 3, and he hits 6 of 7 from three-point range.
That's why I like coaching girls. They couldn't think about dunking it. Put it up off the glass all the time. I played for a coach that if you missed a dunk, it was 25 push-ups right then and there. And I can't tell you how many times we played 4-on-5.
Canavery scores. Yeah, I mean, basically a fast break layup off the glass, kind of like comparable to shooting a foul shot.
Yeah.
Do it enough times, do it in your sleep, right?
That's right. And that was a 4-point swing.
21-point lead. Harris again open, and he hits another one. 7 of 8.
And again, I changed something up. Face guard that young man right now. He is their team.
And he has, by my count, 23 points now for the ball game.
Almost half
21 from three-point range. And as a team, I'm losing track here. 10 of 17, 11 of 18 now.
I've lost. Way too many. That's what we can say.
Well over
Just
60% now,
Yes.
obviously. Up around 65 or almost 70% from three-point range. Nobody can shoot 70% from the three-point range as a team, right?
Well, we're seeing it right now.
Harris open again. And he missed that one. But already the lead's 22, and Whitmer hits a 3.
And long shots produce long rebounds. The Knights are going to have to really be more disciplined in their defense on their blockouts.
Well, that was not a good opening 4 minutes for the Knights.
That was not.
They, by my count, were outscored 14-8 in that over 4-minute stretch. A 19-point lead at halftime is now 25. Evans is tied up by Savricool. No foul call. Walker tries to save it and does to Beatty. Beatty will fire a 3, and it's almost an air ball. Too hard, and the rebound comes away to Salisbury.
And again, now the Knights are in danger of trying to do too much individually.
And a foul called, and that'll send Savricool to the foul line to shoot 2. Knights started out the first couple of minutes trying to work that lead down, but then the threes really started to fall for Salisbury.
Yeah, especially Harris. And that young man is just unconscious from the three-point line right now.
Saverickle hits the first foul shot, 26-point lead, biggest lead so far today for Salisbury.
So right now, Coach Caputo not only coaching for this game, but he's coaching for the next couple games also, and he's got to do and figure out what is going to be his best rotations, what's going to be his best offensive and defensive calls. Not only try to finish out this game, but what's going to be best for his team in the next 2 months.
Not necessarily thinking about a big comeback from 27 down.
Well, you're always thinking about that as a coach. You're super competitive, and you always think that you could come back. I've seen it happen before. Teams come back from 33 points down, but now you're really keeping in the back of your mind what is going to be my best rotation, what's going to be my best defense and best offense for the kids that I have, and trying different things in order to have a better opportunity in the rest of the semester.
Yeah, you look at, again, we talked about it as Nookville shoots and misses, but the rebound for Evans, and he puts it back up and in. Looks like Evans is really now trying to look for a shot perhaps much, much more than he was earlier in the season.
And Wes he's a good outside shooter, but I really would like to see him down within 15 feet of the basket more often.
A good job trying to draw contact, too.
He does, and he's got great footwork. So I'd like to see him get the ball that close to create shots for himself and get to the free throw line.
And you'd love to see Walker really starting to maybe hit some outside shots, because to me that's the one area where you really obviously miss Preston Eaton, and that is the three-point shot.
Yeah, and
because we've got all these three-pointers going in for Salisbury today. And Cody Hosier has a three, and that's it for Southern Virginia.
That's it. And there's not a lot of confidence right now on the three-point line for the Knights.
Missed foul shot, lost out of bounds by the Knights, so it's still Salisbury basketball.
And that's just almost unexcusable. You got the position, inside position. You've got to make sure that you block your man out and then pursue the ball.
Strawn inbounding to Smith. Strawn back to Smith. Lost the ball, picked up by Neufville. Let's see if he goes coast to coast. He's fouled by May. They're going to call NBA continuation or what?
Continuation.
So credit Neufville with the basket. May, I think, was the one who fouled him.
I must say he was going into his shooting motion, but I don't know if that was from the foul line.
3 or 4 states away, wasn't he?
Well, sometimes you got to have breaks go your way.
And Neufville's foul shot is good. Big three-point play there. Cuts the lead to 23. Knights trying to guard against the three-pointer, even though Salisbury doesn't really have their top three-point threats in there right now. May outside to Whitmer. Whitmer's got a couple of threes today. Back, no, nice pass, and the shot up and in on the give and go by Gillum.
And if you're Salisbury, that's the best thing that could happen is run the clock down and get the points under 10 seconds to go on the shot clock.
They've really just played a great ball game today.
They have.
The Knights have had some mistakes on their part.
And again, that
hard to believe this is a 5-5 team going in.
Yeah, they that tournament they went and played in has really done them a world of good.
Evans thought he got fouled. Gillum scores on the other end. Evans was trying to get that pass, Mike. It looked like he got bumped from behind, hit the floor. There were no foul call. Wes is going to fire a three. So it looked like he got fouled again, and this time they're going to call it, and he'll get 3 foul shots.
Let's see if he was in the act of shooting or if they called it on the floor. They're getting him to 3.
So he will indeed get 3 free throws. .21 to go. The Knights trail by 27. They were down by 19 at halftime. Evans got the first foul shot. Two more foul shots coming up here for Evans. Second one is good.
And this is where the Knights really need to score a lot in this last 13 minutes of the game is at the free throw line. It stops the clock, gives them a chance to score save that time where they can maybe get back into this game.
Second and third shot is good. So he gets all three to make it 60-36. And right now, Mike, you're just trying to get this thing back under 20.
Yeah, under 20 would be a great momentum changer for the Knights.
Strawn gets a pick. Goes back to the right to May. May's pass stolen away by Beatty. Turnover for Salisbury. Beatty up court. He stops, gives to Neufville, and the ball stolen away from behind. Not a good pass by Beatty. No. All the way. Layup is up and in by Gillum. 26-point lead again for Salisbury.
That's one thing I've noticed that both teams, the men and the women, they don't pass away from the defense. They pass into the teeth of the defense.
Mosley is triple teamed, and he lost the ball. Another turnover for the Knights. Strawn dropping off a great pass into Smith as Brooks hit Wyatt Smith. Lead is 28. And I know obviously Tony Caputo is trying to make some positive advancements here in the second half, but it looks like Salisbury's having none of it.
It doesn't. They're a team on a mission now. And again, being able to play and come back and practice without classes going on where you can have their full attention and you can get 2 practices in a day and then go play 2 games.
The tournaments that both the men and Salisbury women played, right?
Such an
before
advantage.
Last week.
Such an advantage because I know they went home. I talked to the coach and she said that her players got to go home for Christmas. Day after Christmas, they were back in the gym preparing for the weekend tournament. So such a big advantage that they had. Any team that has that, being able to play those games earlier into the Christmas break is just something that,
especially against, as you mentioned, Salisbury women losing to Montclair against good competition.
Yeah, top-ranked teams. It makes you so much better as you go further into the season.
Well, the latest numbers for Salisbury shooting threes, 12 of 19 now for the ball game. 12 of 19. They are hitting 63%, and Rocky Harris, he had that last miss. He was 7 of 8, now 7 of 9 from three-point range.
Yeah, what a horrible thing to have.
23
right?
points for the game, whereas the Knights are still looking to place their first person in double figures. Langford leads the Knights with 8, and Evans with 7.
And the three-point shot is such a big part of the game right now. In basketball, you have to have someone that can give you 2 or 3 a game, at least in order to help out. Help spread out the defenses.
Well, you look at 12 three-pointers for Salisbury, 1 for Southern Virginia. We're talking 36-3 advantage there. So it's a 28-point lead right now. You take away the three-pointer, and Southern Virginia actually has more points.
Yeah, but coaches are able to do math a lot. And when the three-pointer was first put in, Rick Pitino was the first one to figure out that if he can make only 30% of his threes, that's better than 50% of his twos.
Yeah, a lot of coaches didn't like it when it started. I know Bobby Knight was not a big favorite of it, but once they found out it's going in, got to take advantage of it.
Got to take advantage of it. And again, like I said, if you shoot 30% from the three-point line, that's better than shooting 50% from inside the three-point arc. And some coaches just embrace it a lot. And there's a couple teams that embrace it more than anybody else. You have a team, 2 Division III teams that on the men and women's side that average over 100 points a game, and they shoot 45 threes a game.
Well, the Knights have had some good three-point shooters over the last couple of years. I know a couple of years ago, the men's team, all the Jacobson boys could hit the threes.
Could shoot the threes, and it goes in cycles on your recruiting. Sometimes you get great guards play, which they had at that time, and not so good inside play. Sometimes you get really good inside play, and your guard play is a little bit lower. And sometimes those magical seasons where you have a combination of both, you just sit back as a coach and relish that one.
Then sometimes you go into the season with a good three-point threat like a Preston Eaton, and then you start the second half of the season without Preston Eaton.
Yeah, and that's again, an unfortunate case where he had to make a decision. Was he going to play last semester, play this semester? And
it's really a shame he missed that, lost that appeal.
Yeah, And I found out that he made that appeal twice, last year and this year. And the NCAA turned him down twice for that. So, you know, it was one of those unfortunate things that happened. And really unfortunate for the Knights as a team. But, you know, Preston was such a good guy, and we really enjoyed seeing him out there on the floor.
Well, he really gave the Knights fans, especially here at the Knights Sports Arena over the last year or two, some great thrills.
Some very deep threes he was able to put up.
Gonna miss that a catch and release that Preston used to have.
Yeah, very, very quick release. So I'm sure that's one of the things that the coaching staff for the men are going to be looking for in recruiting this year is a couple three-point shooters to help spread the floor a little bit more.
64-38, 26-point lead right now. Another three-point bomb coming up for Salisbury. That one no good. Outside by Harris. So now he's 7 for 10, and he's missed his last 2. Beatty all the way. Tries to drop off the pass. It's knocked out of bounds.
You know, all the inside players for the Knights can come back next year. Kaleo can get back into his eligibility back for a year, and everybody else can come back except for Wes Evans. And, you know, you get a couple three-point shooters out there that can spread the floor for them. They can become a very dangerous team.
Yep, David Beatty, of course, back. And Nuffield, just a freshman.
Kevin Walker will be back to help distribute the ball, and I think that's where he is at his best, is when he's distributing the ball and not looking to make himself be the number one scorer.
26-point ball game right now. Nuffield makes it 25, 64-39. And he makes them both.
You know, there's a lot of good things that the Knights are doing. It's just that they do them few and far between right now.
You know, it hasn't really made a difference today, obviously, but not having the students cheering section has really hurt both the men's and the women's teams today.
It does make a difference when you're used to having your fans and your classmates there. That extra energy is always something that helps you over the hump, especially in times when things aren't going really great for you.
Evans could hit a 3. Here's Miller on a drive to the basket. He is fouled. Ryan Miller will go to the foul line, and he'll shoot some foul shots.
And it just looks like the Knights are not only out of sync offensively, but defensively too. You know, that's something that the coaching staff is really going to clear up in the next 2 practices. Again, classes aren't in session, and they'll practice twice a day, and they'll check out this film during one practice, and then the next practice they'll work on things to fix what they saw.
And it looked like, to me, on the schedule that they had the Bridgewater game that had been, I guess, postponed right before Thanksgiving because of the winter weather. I don't know if that is still going to go on, but it looked like it was rescheduled for this coming Monday. And, of course, they've got the double headers coming up on Wednesday on the road, Penn State, Harrisburg. Also, St. Mary's next Saturday before they return to, again, play Mary Washington on the 14th. So the men will have plenty of opportunities over the next week and a half before they return to the Knight Sports Arena.
Yeah, they will. And, you know, it'd be nice to get them back here into the barn with the students here and against Mary Washington, who is down this year.
Yeah. You look at some of the ball games coming up for the men's team. They've got Penn State Harrisburg also this week. Penn State Harrisburg coming into the ball game weekend today, 1-8 on the season. You mentioned Mary Washington. Boy, 0-10 on the season heading into today's action.
Yeah,
nothing like last year.
Quite a difference from last year. I know when we went and played them, the men were playing right after us, and they set a school record for three-point shots that night with the fabulous team that they had.
So legitimate, provided the Knights can really bring their A game to win these next 2 road contests in the conference.
Yeah, they could have a great opportunity. And again, like we talked about earlier, the road games, if you can go in someone else's place and win that, then you're going to really be confident when they come to your place to play.
Of course, Mary Washington will be the home game on the 14th. We talked about the other road game next Saturday, St. Mary's. St. Mary's good team last year and not a bad team so far this year. Heading into today's action, they were 5-3 overall. There's a rare turnover by Salisbury as Smith threw it over the head of his intended target, Rocky Harris.
And that might be the best defense for us is to have him throw the ball over his head, because if it gets anywhere close to him, he's been shooting so great that he could just throw it up and it might fall in.
Harris has missed his last 2 3-pointers. He still has 23 points for the ball game as the Knights commit a turnover.
And again, you can see a lot of frustration on the faces of the Knights as they walk back down the floor, and that's, again, one of those issues of you come into the season with such high hopes, and especially after scoring so much and playing so well in your first game, and then to have these
overtime
things,
victory over Emory and Henry, over 111 points I think in that ball game.
Then to have some of the issues happen that have gone on, losing some really close overtime games, and then losing some players. It's just, again, that's the nature of athletics, and you have to learn to adjust and bounce back.
Yeah, it's been one setback after another, Mike, to a certain degree. I mean, Eaton had that great game, of course, against Emory and Henry. Then he got injured to the point that it impacted his shot. You mentioned the tough losses, including that Marymount loss at home. And then, of course, the loss of Manuela and Eaton from the roster. It's just been like one punch after another.
Well, there is some good news. We see Michael Newfield now. This is the second time he's gotten to the free throw line in this half. A lot of offensive rebounding that's been going on. Hasn't been able to put the ball back into the basket as much as we'd like to see. But, again, that attacking mentality on the backboard is something that the Knights are going to need for the rest of the year.
And Newfield got the first foul shot to make it a 25-point ball game, 66-41. That one left short. You know, with this victory today, Salisbury would improve to 2-2 in the conference. Not sure how they'll stack up against the top flight teams in the conference this year, which going into today's action, I guess you're talking about Marymount. They were undefeated in the conference. Christopher Newport, we mentioned St. Mary's. Those are 2 teams right there with plus 500 records, and of course Frostburg 6-4.
Yeah, you have a lot of teams that are knotted at 2-1. You know, there's a lot of parity in the men's side of the draw this year.
Still, the one thing that it's hard to adjust to after watching Capital basketball last year is Mary Washington 0-10.
Yeah,
obviously they must have really got hit hard by graduation, because they had a fantastic team last year.
They did, and again, it's one of those things where once you find a group of freshmen that come in together and you get 4 of them playing at the same time, and you ride them until their senior year, you really don't develop a lot behind them, and so it takes some time to replace them. And
Wesley was the same way. Wesley came into today's action 4-6. And of course, the Knights had a tough loss to Wesley back in early December, and they were a quality opponent last year. Had the big guy, right?
Yeah, the big guy that could just go in and manhandle anybody. But again, that's where coaching comes in. You have to adapt and adjust, and you have to get your kids to buy in to adapt and adjust also.
Austin Wood's going to check in for the first time today here for the Knights. 66-43, a 23-point lead for Salisbury. Knights trail by 19 at halftime. They just have never been able to make a run here in the second half.
No momentum whatsoever. It seems like every time they start to do something positive, that Harris would step up and hit a 3, or a turnover would happen that would lead to a wide open fast break layup.
Yeah, that was that flurry of threes. About 15-minute mark thereabouts, where for Salisbury, where they hit 3 or 4 threes and got the lead almost to 30 points.
Yeah, they again just a phenomenal, great shooting team today. But again, if you live by the 3 so long, you're also going to die by the 3 also, and maybe not today, but this is for today. They're riding their success.
Tough for fans to get used to these doubleheader losses, Mike. We're just 2 years removed from the men's had that winning streak here at the Knight Sports Arena, and your women's team, despite only having 7 players, just played tremendous just a couple of years ago.
Yeah, it's
winning a lot of doubleheaders. When they had doubleheaders.
When we had doubleheaders, yeah.
Which is only about a year or 2 old here.
again, a lot of rebuilding, and I can see on both sides that the blocks are there. It's just putting them into the right pieces and getting everybody on the same page.
Wyatt Smith on the baseline, puts it up and in. 25-point lead now for Salisbury. Beatty open for a three. Thinks about it, takes it, misses it. And Austin Wood hits.
And right now, both men and women's teams are going to figure out what their identity is going to be for the rest of the year and really put their nose to the grindstone to perform that.
And what can they do from three-point range as Strickland hits a three? By my count, that's 13 or 14 threes for Salisbury for the game, and yet Cody Hosier has the one and only three-pointer in this basketball game for the Knights. And without Eaton out there the rest of the season, that's one of the key questions for Tony Caputo is where will he get three-point shooting, provided, of course, he wants to find three-point shooting, which I'm sure any coach would.
Any coach would want it, and again, the process is going to be a little bit slower than what we'd like to see as fans, but you can definitely see some building blocks there for the Knights on both sides. Again, what is the identity of this team right now going to be? We knew in the first semester the identity was they want to get up and down the floor and go fast. Now what's going to be their identity? Are they going to totally scrap that and go to something else, or are they going to try to get back to that, let's go fast?
And we talked about, they've got the Bridgewater game coming up on Monday, and then, of course, games on Wednesday and Saturday in the Capital Conference, road games. Plenty of opportunities. The question becomes, Mike, is how quickly can Tony Caputo find the winning combination? Is it going to take 4 or 5 games, or can he get it in 1 or 2?
Well, we're hoping that it gets in this last 4 minutes and then the Bridgewater game because, the Bridgewater game counts on your overall record. It doesn't do anything for you in your conference.
Right.
And so hopefully this last 4 minutes in the Bridgewater game, he can find those combinations and then be able to take that to St. Mary's. And then when Mary Washington comes in here and when they go to Penn State Harrisburg and use that knowledge that they glean this next game.
Jump shot along the baseline is up and in on the tip in by Jordan Brooks, a freshman guard. 73-48.
And there needs to be more commitment on the defensive end, especially defensive rebounding.
Here's Nuffield along the baseline. He puts it up and almost had a shot at a three-point play as Michael got fouled. He'll shoot 2 foul shots instead.
And you saw the emotion of him shaking his fist because he knew that he missed that easy chippy. That's what you like to see, but that's one of those building blocks that we're talking about. Him being able to do that kind of stuff on a consistent basis inside the lane.
Nuffield really could be an offensive force for this team, not just the rest of this season, but when you look ahead, because again, he's only a freshman.
And like I said, they all come back except for Wes Evans on the inside. You have Emmett Mosley that'll be, not Emmett, he's not even a senior. So off of this team right now, all you're going to lose is Wes Evans. So you bring in a three-point shooter or two, and everybody else gets back into their mode and their role, and they grow and learn from this season.
Give us some insight when it comes to recruiting. When you say bring in a three-point shooter, how easy is it to do that?
It depends on the size of the three-point shooter you're looking for.
Okay.
You can
if you're looking for a 6'8" Magic Johnson three-point shooter.
Yeah, good luck.
Okay.
But if you're looking for someone between the sizes of 5'9" to 6'2", there's plenty of kids out there that want to play the game and that can have an impact on the game of being a three-point shooter. And Coach Caputo has a lot of contacts, not only in the high school, but a lot of junior college contacts. Yeah. Also, that I'm sure that they're looking for these kids to come in to fill specific roles.
How often have you noticed, too, does it vary, I guess? You never know with a certain player, be it a woman or a men's basketball player, that they're going to be able to make the adjustment from high school to college?
It is such a huge jump, and a lot of kids don't want to believe that. But, yeah, there's a lot of kids that you think can make the jump, and they kind of are just average. You got some kids who you can sit there and say, well, you're going to be the water girl. And all of a sudden they're your best player. So
even the coaches can't make that prediction.
It's really hard. A lot of it has to do with their personality, and as we see the dunk there. A lot of it has to do with high school coaches, too. There's some high school coaches that don't allow kids to really play the game and pigeonhole them in different roles.
So how they're used in high school, you might use them drastically different once you get them. Another three missed by Salisbury. They've certainly cooled up, but then again, they haven't had Rocky Harris into the game for 5 or 6 minutes now.
That's true, and I probably won't see Rocky Harris back in.
And there's a foul by Strawn. Austin Wood will go to the foul line.
And even though Austin drew the foul there, I'd like to see him go a little bit closer, shoulder to shoulder with the screen that Michael Newfield set for him.
How's Austin Wood for three-point shooting? He saw some action earlier in the season. And you wonder if maybe this is one of the guys that Tony Caputo, in addition to Cody Hosier, who's checking in, might develop perhaps into a three-point threat.
Yeah, they're. I'm sure both of them they're both outstanding shooters, but again, in a game situation, you got that adrenaline going, you got someone flying out at you. It's going to be one of those issues of can they do it in a game situation.
And of course, Cody Hosier has the only three today for the Knights, and we saw him last year hit some big threes too. So 76-52. It's a 24-point lead. Salisbury misses another outside jumper. Savercool got the rebound, ripped away by Rumbaugh, and foul going to be called on Aaron Rumbaugh. Freshman for the Knights picks up the foul.
And the offense that the Knights run right now is not really three-point heavy. A lot of cutting, a lot of shuffle cuts going toward the basket. So that might be the answer to our question is, are they going to try to develop a lot of three-point shooters? If they're going to stick with this offense they have, maybe not.
It all comes down to personnel. We talked about, 2 years ago, the Jacobsons could hit the three outside. Obviously last year, Eaton, Michael Price, just to name a few guys who could really shoot the threes. Not so much this year, especially with Preston Eaton not available in the second half of the season. Nice steal by Canterbury, but he picks up the foul.
Yeah, anytime you reach across the body, no matter if you get it clean or not, they're not going to let you get away with that.
So Jordan Brooks, the freshman guard, will go to the foul line. Yeah, looks like Rocky Harris, as you mentioned, is done for the day, and he's going to wind up with 23 points to lead all scorers.
And his three-point shooting percentage fell off the
down to 70%.
Fell down after those last two misses.
7 of 10, maybe. 8 of 12 overall shooting for the game. 26-point lead right now. 78-52.
Right now, the Knights are playing to figure out what's going to be best to go with in the next couple games.
Hosier open for a three, and he hits it. That's his second of the game. You like Hosier. He's a very small guy, obviously. He doesn't have the size, but he can really hit that outside shot.
He has some range, and if they run some screens for him, he can be one of those that can catch and shoot.
Only 5'8". Savercool missing the three. Hosier with the rebound.
When the Knights were three-point heavy, they ran a lot of flex action to free up the three-point shooters. We may be seeing more of that.
And a charge on Aaron Rumbaugh.
And again, I can't emphasize enough. Once you beat your man, you get to the lane, pull straight up and shoot the little jump shot. Good defensive teams are going to be able to step in there and create the charge.
Yeah, the more you're driving to the basket, the greater the risk of actually running over somebody. Outside jump shot by Salisbury, no good. And actually had a player foul out of the ball game. And Gillum picked up his fifth foul. Well, Mike, these next two 3 road games, if you count the Bridgewater game, but really the 2 Capital road games are going to be very interesting for the Knights because, again, we're talking about winnable ball games on the road, and just a matter of whether the Knights can pull it all together.
You know, the game against Penn State Harrisburg is one of those iffy games. But when they go and play, or the Mary Washington game here is going to be one of those that they have to win.
Well, Harrisburg came in 1-8 on the season today. And then St. Mary's, obviously, next Saturday, a very quality opponent there at 5-3.
And playing at St. Mary's is really difficult, as their gym configuration is just something that it's kind of strange.
What makes it unique?
Well, you have seating on 3 sides, and then you have a huge plate glass window on the 4th side looking into the basketball arena where the sun can glare in, and it's just a
and you can actually see outside.
Yes.
Okay.
And it's the shooting background just isn't great.
You wonder who came up with that scheme of design.
Obviously, it works pretty good for them because
Yeah.
they practice with it, and you know that's one of those home court advantages. But yeah, the next 3 games are very winnable. They're very in the same category as athlete as the Knights, and we just got to see if the Knights can put together what Coach Caputo and his staff want them to perform and run.
They trailed at halftime, the Knights did today, 39-20. And they have been outscored in the second half here, 41-38.
And number 21 for the Seagulls, Ryan Miller, come out with a nosebleed. Don't want to get too physical right now.
Just 34.8 left in the ball game.
Got the trainer Paul Tobias out, disinfecting the floor, cleaning up the blood.
Trying to find the drops.
Referees are pointing it out. Give Paul a hand as he comes by. And for a trainer, if this is all they have to do, this is a great day for them. With no injuries and all they have to do is
No
dispense
concussions.
Yeah, dispense ice afterwards. He's had a great day.
Again, the Knights lost the first game, the women's contest, 83-61. That was a game they led early 14-7, trailed at halftime by 23, ended up losing that game by 22. Here, the Knights just, men's game, just never could get it going in the first half, trailed by 19 at halftime. Just could not overcome some turnovers, but really Salisbury's 3-point shooting.
Yeah, this, like you said, the Knights never got on track in this game and looked totally uncomfortable the whole game. As opposed to,
it was 11-9 if I recall, and then Salisbury started to really break it out.
Well, Harris started hitting everything he threw up. He just became unconscious. But even at that juncture, the Knights really didn't look like they were comfortable out on the floor.
And we had talked about the Knights trying to get it down to 12 or 14 by halftime, and it ended up being 19 at halftime, but because, as you mentioned, Rocky Harris hit a lot of threes, but then again, as a team, Salisbury was really shooting good from the 3-point range.
And there was a few minutes of some turnovers there by the Knights that just led to some wide open layups.
See if Austin Wood gets a shot with just 9 seconds to go. 82-58, 24-point lead. It'll go to Rumball. And they will not get us off. Canterbury does. It's no good, and that's the final, 82-58.
You know, and at the end of both halves, Ben was the one taking the 3-point shot. Again, maybe that's by design. I don't know. We'll have to do some investigation in on that one.
So 83-61 in the first game. Salisbury beats Southern Virginia in women's basketball today. And, Mike, the final score in the men's contest is 82-58. As Salisbury improves to 6-5, and the Knights men's team now has lost 8 in a row. They're 1-8 on the season.
And again, trying to find that magic combination now for the Knights is going to be the utmost thing to do in practices. Yes, you've lost 2 your starters. Now it's time to move on. You can't look back and say, what if?
Right.
It's time to go forward, and that's going to be on the coaching staff now for the Knights, is to move them forward and get them from thinking about, well, what could have been if we would have had Preston, and what could have been if we would have had Manuela.
And when you talk about moving forward, again, you've only got so many parts to work with, and then you got to figure out, okay, which part's going to work.
Yeah, and you might have this the shortening of the rotation become more and more evident as we get further into the season.
Okay. Hang on here. We're going to have Jason Lamb, the athletic director for Southern Virginia University, joining us here on the post-game show for a quick word on his thoughts on how things are shaping up for basketball in January and February, and maybe also get his thoughts also on the winter and spring sports that are fast approaching. 82-58 is your final score in the men's contest today. And, of course, as we talked about, coming up, our next webcast is on January the 14th. It'll be Mary Washington, a doubleheader for men's and women's basketball coming up on January the 14th. The men's and women's teams, Jason, are going to be on the road next week and a half. So how about your thoughts about how things are shaping up for basketball here in January and February? It's something I talked about at a few minutes ago with Edward Dryden, is how tough it is for these athletes to adjust to the 3-4 week layoff.
You know, it's funny you bring that up because both Coach Caputo and Coach Roberts and I were speaking just the other day about how long the break was for them. And that, for example, Salisbury, both these teams had games before today.
In a tournament, yeah.
After the break. And that our kids came back kind of cold after a bunch of weeks. And we got discussing. We said, well, why didn't we do something different? And why don't we do something different next year? Meaning, don't let them go home so quickly.
Yep.
And when we bring them back, let's bring them back to a game. We can always schedule a non-conference prior to this conference game because this is always going to be a conference weekend.
Maybe some sort of Christmas a tournament between Christmas and New Year's.
Yeah, and if it even not a tournament, just a non-conference something. But, you know, I think that what that speaks to is the fact that we're still learning how to do things around here, and I don't mind admitting that. I mean, it's.
And adjusting because you've only been in the Capital Conference a couple of years.
Exactly,
now.
and the NCAA Division III. So it's like it's a double baptism of we're just learning what you have to do to compete as a Division III program, and we happen to be in my opinion, the SEC of Division III.
Oh, no.
We're not playing the bottom end 1AA kind of football conference stuff. We're playing the top level Division III. I mean, these teams are as good as they are. You get in the country. So we've got a lot to learn. These are the little pieces, and it's interesting you bring that up. But we discussed next year being smarter as administration to keeping them as long as we feel is good right before Christmas. Let them go home for the week or whatever, 6-7 days, come back, have some practice, play somebody, and then be rolled into the conference play.
And, of course, adjusting to roster changes. Of course, Preston Eaton, as we were talking about throughout the day today, not available for the remainder of the season.
Right.
And that's just hard to adjust to.
Well, and not only Preston, but we also lost Kaleo.
Yep.
Those are, unfortunately, those are great big losses, but, Jim, we knew they were going to happen. So maybe we weren't public about it. The coaches knew. We just didn't broadcast it.
Right.
I can tell you Coach Caputo was prepared for that unfortunate changeover. But again, that's also part of what we're learning as a coaching staff, at this level is how do you prepare for that? How do you avoid that? So on and so forth. But it is what it is. But that's also part of the dynamic of missions and our culture of kids coming and going at different times of the year. We're not your standard show up as a freshman, give me 4 straight years.
Right.
They come, they go, they come back.
Yeah.
And so that also plays in a little bit of a dynamic. There's a young man on the end of the bench that I met today that's just come off a mission and he's going to join us and be a new point guard for the team. But, he wasn't ready. He could have been very helpful to replacing Preston. But, again, you can't put him in a week and then throw him in. He's had 6 practices.
Right.
So he didn't even dress, but a kid named Tanner. But, the dynamic, that's who we are, though. And those are the things you have to just accept. This is who we are. We are a school that's going to have a little bit of a revolving door. That should never alter how we do things. But per this conversation, we should be maybe a little wiser to, like we said, let's get them back earlier or let them stay a little longer, get them, a little more done with them before the break.
Hey, hindsight's always 20/20, isn't it?
But that's part of the growth process. I think it's exciting.
Yeah.
I mean, we just got to learn how to do things better. And why? Because we're in the SEC conference of the Division III, and it forces us to take these lumps and learn and go back and figure out how to do it better next time. So.
Well, Jason, really quick, any final thoughts for our viewers out there? Our next webcast doubleheader not coming up till January the 14th. It's going to be obviously a very busy January, February, doing winter sports and maybe a little early spring sports too.
Yeah, we're all getting on board. This is exciting. This is the busiest time in athletics at Southern Virginia when we're still in our winter sports season and we pick up the beginning of our spring sports season. It's similar to when our start to end.